Let's dive into an idea that sounds a little crazy. What if you could actually make your brain addicted to studying? I don't mean forcing it with willpower, but by actually hacking its own chemistry. I mean, just imagine it. What if hitting the books gave you that same irresistible pull as scrolling through your phone? It sounds impossible, right? But this really gets to the core of a struggle we all know, that constant battle between focused work and those super easy instant distractions. And this is the whole secret. If you struggle to focus, it is not because you're lazy. It's not some kind of character flaw. It's just a biological process that you can actually manage. It's all about working with your brain's chemistry instead of constantly fighting against it. Okay, so to understand how to work with our brains, first we need to get a handle on the core problem. Let's call it the dopamine dilemma, and it perfectly explains why studying can sometimes feel so painful. Think about it. Your brain is in this constant tug of war. On one side, you have the easy, high dopamine stuff like social media and gaming. On the other side, you've got the harder, low dopamine tasks like, studying. And since our brain is basically a reward-seeking machine, guess which one it's going to pick? It's going to go for the path of least resistance, the biggest, quickest hit, almost every single time. So let's get this perfectly clear. You are not lazy. You are not broken. This idea is so empowering because it shifts the focus away from blaming yourself and puts it right where it belongs, on biology. It means we can learn to work with the system instead of always feeling like we're fighting a losing battle. So if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, it turns out there's a pretty simple, totally actionable three-phase method for hacking this reward system. And this right here is the core of the whole thing. It's called dopamine loading. And put simply, it's just a way to rewire your brain's reward system. You're basically training it to get that satisfying rush from doing productive work instead of from cheap distractions. The real secret sauce is learning how to manage your brain's baseline level of stimulation. It all boils down to three surprisingly simple phases. First up is deprivation, and that's where you lower your dopamine baseline so your brain gets kind of hungry for stimulation. Then comes priming, where you actually build up anticipation for studying. And finally, there's amplification, where you manually add little rewards to really lock in that new habit. Okay, so that's the theory. But what does this actually look like in practice? Let's walk through what a typical day of dopamine loading really feels like. The whole process starts the second you wake up. No phone. This is key because it keeps your dopamine levels naturally low. Then, before you even start studying, you spend about 30 minutes in that deprivation phase. Yeah, you basically let your brain get a little bored. You save those big dopamine rewards like games or social media for the evening after the important work is done. Now, the study breaks. This is where most people get it wrong. If you're using a method like Pomodoro, 25 minutes of focus, 5-minute break, those breaks are not for getting a quick dopamine hit. You stretch, you walk around, you just breathe. The absolute non-negotiable rule is this: do not touch your phone. That one little action can completely derail the whole process by giving your brain that cheap, easy stimulation you're trying so hard to avoid. And here is a super simple but really powerful hack for that amplification phase. After you finish a 25-minute block, you physically celebrate. Give a little fist pump, maybe a quiet yes. It sounds kind of silly, I know, but you're creating a feedback loop that tells your brain, hey, that was a win. You are manually connecting the act of studying with the feeling of victory. So you're putting in all this work. What's the actual payoff? And, when does the magic happen? Let's talk about the turning point because it's really important to know what to expect. And I'm not going to lie to you, the first 3 days are tough. Your brain has been trained for years to chase easy dopamine, and it is going to resist this new routine. It might even feel like it's screaming for its usual fix. You just have to be ready for that initial pushback. But if you can push through that resistance, something pretty incredible happens. Somewhere around day 4 or 5, your dopamine baseline literally resets. Your brain stops craving those intense artificial highs from distractions and actually starts to find real satisfaction in the work itself. And what does that feel like? Well, you're not forcing yourself to focus anymore. The satisfaction is built right into the work. That aha moment when you understand a difficult concept, that gives you a genuine rush. Solving a tough problem literally feels like winning a game. All right, so that brings us to the final, most important part. We're going to frame all this as a simple, totally achievable challenge.
Just 5 days. That's it. That is the entire challenge. This isn't some permanent, miserable lifestyle change. The whole goal is to just commit for 5 days, long enough to prove to yourself that this actually works and to feel that shift happen in your own brain.
So here's the game plan. You commit for 5 days, and look, don't worry about being perfect. Just be consistent. Pay attention to how you feel, and this last one is so important. You have to guard your progress. After a few days, that new baseline is fragile. One long social media binge can be enough to totally reset it and send you right back to square one. So at the end of the day, remember the core idea here. You are not fighting your brain. You are reprogramming it. This isn't about some brutal battle of willpower. It's an intelligent act of self-direction. You are literally becoming the programmer for your own reward system. And that, of course, leads to a much bigger question. If this technique can work for studying, what else could it work for? Getting in shape? Working on a creative project? Learning a new skill? The possibilities are kind of endless. So the final thought I want to leave you with is this. What will you teach your brain to crave?